we're going to do is add and subtract rationals. This first part, we're going to be looking at common denominators, and in each of these cases, we're going to have common denominators. So we have an x minus 3 and an x minus 3. So when we have a common denominator, in this case, we're going to subtract, and we get that 2x minus 6. We factor out the 2, and what we notice is that we have an x minus 3 over an x minus 3. So what's going to happen is we're going to cancel, and we're going to get the answer of 2. Now, we're going to also be looking at excluded values, and if you remember, excluded values is what gives us 0 in the denominator. So in this case, x cannot equal 3. So looking at our first one, what we have is a common denominator of x minus 1. So we keep the denominator the same. We add the 3 plus the 5, and that gives us 8. Our excluded values, that is when x cannot equal whatever the denominator is. So in this case, it would be 1. For letter B, we see our common denominator is 5x, so we're keeping it as 5x. And 4 plus 6 is 10. Now this one actually simplifies, so that would become 2 over x, because we divide a 5 out of each of them. And then our excluded value would be what gives us 0 in the denominator, which in this case would just be 0. So x cannot equal 0. Now for letter C, we see a common denominator. When we're subtracting it, remember to subtract the x and the negative 1. So 2x minus x is x. 2 minus a negative 1 gives us 3. I'm going to factor the denominator. 2 numbers that multiply together give me 6 and add up to 5. And that would be 2 and 3. So what I have is x plus 2 and x plus 3. I notice that the x plus 3's cancel, and my answer is 1 over x plus 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to state my excluded values, and the excluded values is what gives us 0 in the denominator, so x cannot equal negative 2 or negative 3. Now, looking at letter D, we see a common denominator, and so that gives us the x plus 8. These are not like terms, so when we add them, we just leave it as x plus 5. Not all of them simplify, some of them we just leave them. Our excluded values, this is x cannot equal whatever the denominator is, so if we look at our denominator, we know that it cannot be equal to negative 8. Looking at letter E, our x minus 4 is our common denominator, and then we have an x minus 4, and that's the same, so it's going to become 1 as our answer. Our excluded value is always with our original, so our excluded value in this case would be x cannot equal 4. And then for our last one, once again, when we're subtracting, remember to subtract both of them. 5x minus 4x is x. 10 minus 13 is negative 3. This is two binomials. It's the difference of squares. So it becomes x minus 3 and x plus 3. And we see that the x minus 3's cancel, and what we get is 1 over x plus 3. And of course, our excluded values, x cannot equal negative 3.